America stands on the brink of a new era, ripe with vast amounts of new technologies at our fingertips. Today, we will be talking about a rather recent invention that will no doubt leave its mark on the coming age. My name is Justin Klug, and I'd like to personally welcome you to the 221st episode of Drones on the Home Front. Drones, UAVs, along with UCAVs, are now one of the most employed aircrafts by the United States military for about a decade now. A rather old idea, dating back to about 100 years now. A drone is simply defined as an unmanned vehicle. However, some of these drones can be dated all the way back to the First World War. Obviously, these drones were much more primitive than what we have today, consisting of either a wind-up propeller that was sent from the ground, or simply a small track tank full of explosives controlled by a wired controller from a man sitting in a trench in an attempt to blow up an enemy tank encroaching upon his position. Since then, there have been many attempts by many different nationalities to create a viable drone for military use. The majority of these tests more or less failed. And because of this, the drone took on a more toy aspect in most societies, creating small little helicopters for children, as long as small remote control cars, which are still highly accepted gifts today. However, enter the Predator drone. The Predator drone is where drones truly stepped out of the toy position, and where they were first mass-produced by military, the United States military, more specifically the CIA, to be used in surveillance mostly, but later took on a more combative role. After the Predator drone, there was an explosion of drone technologies, as far as an AI drone completely capable of controlling itself without any human input at all. And the production of these drones and innovated drones are increasing at an exponential rate. It is obvious that us humans are entranced by these little toys. If the pattern holds, our next generation may see more drones than we ever imagined. As previously stated, after the Predator drone caused an explosion in drone production, the shift of fascination went from society to military. And, as you might know, drone strikes have become our military's go-to weapon with the war on terror. But, as drones have continued to prove their worth over the battlefield, they've caught the interest of law enforcement agencies across the country. In the beginning, the idea of including drones into law enforcement agencies was heavily protested by the population, and was barred by the Constitution as it was. However, rather recently, law enforcement has worked with the Federal Aviation Administration, or the FAA, and have passed a policy that grants them a virtually unrestricted access to drones, as long as authorization is documented by the Federal Aviation Administration with that individual law enforcement department. It is important to note that this policy is very, very recent. In fact, most police departments still do not have access to drones. And it is also important to note that each police department must individually apply for an application to use drones, and that application must be accepted by the FAA before that law enforcement agency can begin employing drones. Since the majority of law enforcement agencies across the country have not applied for an application to use drones with the FAA, it is too early to say the impacts on crime since this policy have been passed. While the majority of America's police departments have not applied for an FAA authorization, many have. And after the approval from the FAA, these law enforcement agencies have been gifted the most power that law enforcement agencies have ever possessed in our history. Since then, dozens of different police drone models have been developed and incorporated into the agencies. Entirely new businesses have sprung up almost instantaneously to build and innovate these drones for the police. These new drones have a variety of implications, such as surveillance, speed limit enforcement, pursuing suspects that are fleeing on foot and in vehicle, delivering police equipment to the field, and nighttime border patrol. Every year, more police departments are added to the FAA's drone authorization list. Every year, more police drones are put into our sky. On a surface level, an increase in police power should make everyone feel a bit safer from criminal activities. However, Renaissance humanist Desiderius Erasmus once said, "He who allows oppression shares in the crime." Will law enforcement overstep the boundaries of their new power, leading to the oppression of the public? Or will our new law enforcement power usher in a new era, an era without criminal activity? Perhaps we cannot have one without having the other. What do you think? Let us know at www.notarealwebsite.org or hit us up on Pinterest. Tune in next time on Drones on the Home Front.